morning, everyone, and thank you for attending our Global Business Services webinar. Please note that it is being recorded and will be available on our website afterwards. My name is Dave Fitzgerald, and I'm the Programme Manager for the Global Business Services with ICT Skillnet. Today's topic is equipping you and your workforce with the skills for success in a digital environment. Today, our speakers will be Sabina McGuinn from the Hackett Institute, Pádraig O'Neill from Pfizer Global Financial Services, and Paul O'Reilly from Technology University Dublin. The good news is that Skillnet Ireland and Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet are committed to supporting the GBS sector, and that additional funding has been received in 2020 from Skillnet Ireland, which is testament to our commitment to this sector for the future, as we believe that maintaining a highly skilled workforce is essential to our natural competitiveness. This, coupled with the support of our partners within the American Chamber of Commerce, the IDA and Enterprise Ireland, will ensure that Ireland maintains its reputation as a location with a highly skilled and flexible workforce. So in today's webinar, we will discuss what the future global business services skills requirements are. We will hear from Pfizer how they have responded to the increasing need to upskill and reskill, and how Technology Ireland ICT Skillnet, TU Dublin and the Hackett Institute have developed a Master's in Global Business Services specifically aimed to support individuals with a career in the global business services sector. So after the webinar, we will have a question and answer session. So everybody can see there's a Q&A button that you can put your questions in, and please put the speaker's name in that you'd like to address the question to. Alternatively, if you have a personal query that you'd like to send it in to us at gbs@ictskillnet.ie. And we will now start with hearing from Sabina McGuinn. Good morning, Sabina, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me today. To give you a little bit of an overview, what we are seeing in the market, where are we in terms of global business services, and really setting the scene a little bit before we can then dive into the master's program itself. So the first thing that we've probably all noticed is that the world is becoming more digital, and obviously GBS is absolutely no exception to that. GBS really has to support the enterprise to become more digital, and we're doing that for a number of reasons. We need to increase value. We need to get much better at engaging with our customers, with our stakeholders. We need to become much better at having a more customer-centric focus. So develop processes that really embrace the customer and do what the customer wants us to do, rather than having our own process and seeing how the customers can fit on top of that. It's very important that GBS really embraces that, because we know that a lot of the transactional processes are being done in a GBS environment. So we are really in a very good position to look at, well, how can we improve that and fulfill some of those needs that are expected from us. In one of our recent key issue studies, we've actually asked the enterprises, well, what is it that you expect? What is it that you need from GBS? And I think it comes as absolutely no surprise that cost efficiency sits right on the top. Shared services or global business services is usually set up to achieve those cost efficiencies, and that will be a topic that will stay with us for a long, long time. But the enterprises are also looking to GBS to help them enabling the digital transformation. We've seen a lot of GBS organizations that have centers of excellence dealing specifically with digital transformation. And we need to be a little bit careful here as well to not just think that digitalization is about automation. It's very much about the people as well. So let's just look at it in a much, much broader sense, not just automation. The enterprise are also looking to GBS to really help them become more customer-centric, and I'd already touched on that a little bit. It's one of those very important things, and GBS organizations are getting very, very good at tracking customer satisfaction and really ensuring that we are giving them the best possible journey with the organization. Enterprise agility, particularly in the current environment, it becomes more important. It becomes more prominent. And we can really see which GBS organizations have become very good at it. It's become very apparent which ones could scale up and down without actually having to move too many people around or having too many people sitting, not having anything to do. So we as GBS need to really support the enterprise as a whole with that agility journey. Analytics, well, that is a very, very hot topic. Analytics can really accelerate the enterprise performance. And when we talk about analytics, we're talking not just about collecting data. We need to go beyond that descriptive analytics. We really need to think about what can we do with the data? What does it mean for us? What are the trends we are seeing? What does that mean for us in the future? Are we going to see ups or downs? And can we influence that somehow? And of course, GBS needs to really help the enterprise support their growth strategies. We're going to have a look at what the top priorities are for GBS organizations. The good news is, number one is exactly the same as what enterprises want from us, cost efficiency. We need to drive costs down on an annual basis. But a lot of the other issues or top priorities for GBS are based around value. So secure data and systems. GBS needs to make sure that the data that we are holding, customer data internally, is secure. How can we make sure that this is happening? We've seen that now a lot of people are working from home. Just because they're working on their laptops now in their home environment, can we still guarantee that the data that we are holding is secure? Aligning skills and talent with business needs is a really interesting one, because here we really need to look at, well, what are some of the requirements that we will have in GBS? What kind of services do we need to deliver? How is the environment changing in terms of digitalization, for instance? And what does that mean for us in terms of having the right skills and capabilities in place? Technology changes so fast, so we don't know what technology we'll have in place. Obviously, we can't really prepare people for very specific topics. 10 years ago, no one was talking about RPA. People that can program robots are now in very high demand. So we really need to look at what kind of people can we have internally that are very agile, that are very curious and passionate, and really want to learn a lot of the new skills that will undoubtedly come up in the next few years. Improving agility, I've mentioned that already quite a few times today. We have to be part of that, and it's got to be one of our priorities working in GBS. And then, of course, modernizing application platforms. That's about bringing in new software, new technology, upgrading some of the systems we have. It might be SAP or Oracle. And GBS is really supporting that to really get rid of some of those legacy systems. For us working in GBS, it's actually really, really good news, because in our recent key issue study, we asked associates or managers of shared service centers what they think. Is your workload going to increase or decrease? And the good news is that the majority of organizations will see an increase in GBS. And we've asked all these questions before the whole crisis. I think that has actually, the current crisis has probably put an increase on that number again, because here it's become really clear how well GBS is structured, how they can work along certain processes, and that can be done from anywhere. There are very well documented processes in GBS, and that's become very apparent while people work from home and can perform the same tasks and are actually very productive. And productivity, what we hear in a lot of GBS organizations, has gone up. And that's because people can really work so well to their set rules, their set instructions that are always there, set processes, and can perform those ones really well. GBS has got a number of critical areas that they need to develop. Enterprise agility, it's top priority, but it's still a critical development area, the same as enterprise analytics capabilities. As I mentioned, a lot of organizations are still stuck in collecting data, but not actually looking at how they can use that data much, much better. Cost efficiency, mentioned that we all need to bring costs down, but how can we do that every year to really bring the costs down for the services that we are delivering? Agility, we mentioned modernizing platforms. So really all the top priorities that we've seen for GBS are actually critical development areas. And the one we really want to focus on a little bit more today as well is about aligning skills and talent with the business needs. And it is tricky, as I mentioned, how we can actually do that. And we're really pleased to have Parag from Pfizer here today, who can give us a little bit of an insight what they have done in Pfizer to really help with that. And for that, back over to you, David.
And thank you, Sabine, for a very interesting view of the digital transformation challenges facing GBS companies. So just to introduce Parag O'Neill from Pfizer Global Financial Services. And Parag, over to you.
Great, thanks David, and thanks Sabine. My name is Parag O'Neill. I'm the Vice President for EMEA for Pfizer's Shared Services organisation. We call ourselves GFIS. And Pfizer has a very long history and tradition in Ireland. We started over 50 years ago in 1969. And we employ 3,200 people across 6 different sites. Since since starting the investment, we've invested over 7 billion across the different operations. We've manufacturing in Grange Castle, in Newbridge in County Kildare, and in Little Island and Ringaskiddy in Cork. And our commercial operation then is in City West. But the group that I represent is in Ringsend. And it's a group of about 500 in all based in variations of shared services. And in that centre, we have about 40 different nationalities with, as I say, 500 colleagues. We as a group, so we call ourselves Global Financial Solutions, or GFIS. And in all, we have a number of sites across the globe. So we have a site in Memphis in Tennessee. We have a site in San Jose in Costa Rica. We have the Dublin site. We have a site in Prague in the Czech Republic, a site in Dalian in China, and then we have an outsourced relationship with Genpact. But the group itself, we're part of what we call the Global Business Operations Group. And that includes financial solutions, procurement, global insurance and recovery, global workplace solutions, which is predominantly the group that looks after our facilities globally, global tax, and then our finance, portfolio management and optimization, or FPMO group, that manage projects across the entire organization. GFIS, procurement, tax, and FPMO all have a presence within the Watermark building. The other 2 don't. So we're one of the most extensive sites within the GBO organization for Pfizer. And the areas we specifically have specialized in within GFIS are with the global COE, and I was interested to see Sabine referring to the amount of work that's coming to COEs, but we have the COE for statutory reporting, for transfer pricing, for operational treasury, and for indirect tax or VAT. We also have the regional responsibility then for corporate reporting, strategic accounts receivable and credit risk, and transformation. And for the global centres, we have 100% responsibility the regional, then it's responsibility for the region itself. Other services that are not part of GBO that are co-located with us are the corporate treasury team, which effectively is our in-house bank, our digital group, which digital or IT, and then the internal audit or corporate audit group. So in all, that's the what makes up the site in Ringsend. The group itself, the GFIS group, it's been a very, very interesting evolution. We started out in 2003, and we started out very much as a transactional site, a typical shared services startup with invoice to pay, order to cash, and general ledger. And at the time, we were bringing activity in from London, from Paris, from Berlin. There was a real cost opportunity and through centralization and standardization. But once centralized, we ourselves then became a target of the other lower cost locations. And there is, whether we like it or not, there is this strong sense externally, internationally, that Dublin is a higher cost location. And we embraced that relatively early on in our journey and realized that for us to be sustainable and to continue to develop, we ourselves had to evolve, and we had to evolve our colleagues with us, bring them on the journey to move from being very transactional at the start to the point where today we are very much a knowledge-based centre. We did that through migrating transactional activity out of the site, while at the same time bringing more knowledge-based activity into the centre. So through GEMPACT, we moved the likes of a lot of the transactional processing, some of the reconciliations, some of the lower level transaction activity. We also moved areas like intercompany to China, fixed assets and inventory to Costa Rica, and invoice to pay through a combination of GEMPACT and Prague. While we were doing that, we were bringing in areas like credit risk, like statutory, like transfer pricing, like treasury, the treasury CRE and VAT. And today we're at a point where we're now the largest strategic shared service centre in Ireland, but we're also the largest employer of chartered accountants in Ireland outside of the Big Four. But it would give you a fair reflection of the type of activity and the type of professional we now employ within the centre. In saying that, something that we're constantly, we know ourselves, we have to keep evolving and developing and bringing our colleagues and developing our colleagues as part of that. And we recognise that we need to continue to prepare for the colleague of the future, for the environment of the future. And our current colleague is very much focused on problem solving, very commercially aware, very controls mindset and risk adverse. And we need to ensure all of that is retained but built on. And a lot of this resonates with some of the things that Sabine referred to. We need our colleague of the future to be a lot more change agile, to be very strongly digitally aware, to be very data and tech savvy, to be a very strong strategic thinker, very flexible, but also to have a broader view. We focused very heavily on financial shared services. We're now starting to look at the possibilities around broadening that outside of finance into knowledge areas that are suitable for centralization in other areas within the business, and looking at the likes of what Novartis and Eli Lilly, some of our peers in the biopharma sector, are doing. So we're in a very, very strong position at the moment, but at the same time recognize there are areas we now have to continue with the upskilling of our colleagues to ensure that they and we are ready for the next generation of GBS. So with that, I'll hand back to you, David and Paul.
Thanks very much for sharing with us how Pfizer are responding to the challenges of upskilling and reskilling within the digital transformation environment. So we'll now hear from Paul O'Reilly from TU Dublin.
My name is Paul O'Reilly. I'm the Head of School of Management at Technology University Dublin. And in my segment of the webinar this morning, I'm going to first introduce you to Technological University Dublin, and then I'm going to take you through some features of the programme. TU Dublin actually only came into being in January 1st, 2019, but we're around a long time in different guises, and perhaps over that time better known over the last 50 years really through street names, which sounds ominous, but Bolton Street and Kevin Street, Rathmines, Mountjoy Square are all, and Ainger Street are all locations in Dublin city centre that resonate in education, and particularly in terms of applied education in Ireland over the last 50 years particularly. And all of this came to positioning where we became the first technological university for Ireland on the 1st of January 2019. And as the first technological university, what we are maintaining the career-focused applied education approaches that we have. We're maintaining working with industry, and I'll mention that in a moment. We've built ourselves up to be a significantly sized university at this stage. We've nearly 30,000 students working on programs on our campus, but also taking programs off our campus. As a business school, it's very important for us that we accredit ourselves internationally and benchmark ourselves internationally. And we have the Association of MBA accreditation, and we have EdUniversal accreditation as well, which give us a sound ranking internationally. And an exciting phase of activity for us at the moment is that we're just signing off on the final designs for a new business school, which will be located at what will be the consolidated TU Dublin campus location for the city centre at Grange Gorman, which is, if you're not sure where it is, it's literally 200 yards walk from Smithfield Square, so very close to the city centre. One of the areas, TU Dublin and DIT, as we were before that, would have been very well known for working with companies and with people who work-based learning. And that's carried through to what we do at the moment in terms of our executive education activity. And we're working with a wide range of organisations and companies currently. What this has allowed us to do is develop a lot of experience working with the requirements of work-based learners and also working with the requirements of organisations that they work for. So we've been able to build and design applied focus into what we do. We've developed it into our teaching models, and we've also developed it into our assessment models, which I'll talk about when looking at the programs. I'm going to speak briefly about the two global business services programs that we're offering in partnership, funded by Technology Ireland and in partnership with the Hackett Institute. The first program we have is our CPD Diploma in Global Business Services. This is a shorter program. It's a 20-credit program, but it is placed on the National Framework of Qualifications. And the program is particularly, we found, of the people who've been on it so far, the ones who found it particularly beneficial were people that were relatively new to the global business services or shared services industries sectors, and also people who maybe had been working in a particular area within their organisation for a period of time, but maybe had less exposure to other areas. So this programme facilitates that mobility in that the programme participant is working on a qualification that addresses the broad global business services centre issues, including generic GBS controls, tools, techniques, and focuses on service specifics. It allows them to develop an understanding of tools, methodologies and frameworks to support the operational activities in a GBS context. And it equips the learners with the knowledge and skills to operate in a functional team settings in the global business services industry. So as I mentioned, this programme, it's a level 8 20-credit programme. It's 100% online, and that's the delivery is completely online and the assessment is completely online. The content used in this programme is comes from the Hackett Institute, and they've developed what we've observed in TU Dublin as to be world-class content that really kind of drives the specific learning of the programme for the learner. On top of that, each of our modules would have a lecturer who advises the students through a series of assessments that allows them to apply the learning that they're taking from the online content. So there's 4 module areas in GBS focused. supply chain and IT processes, models and governance, management, and people and finance processes. And these modules are delivered over a 5-month period, allowing for the learner to engage in the assessment as they go through it, but also taking account of the typical calendar and timelines of global business services companies, so such as end of quarters and Christmas and things like that, that can be challenging. With that as well, there's a certification for those who complete it from the Hackett Institute as well, who certify all of their programs. The other program we have in this partnership is the Masters in Global Business Services. Now, this program is a more extensive program. It's taking over a 2-year period, and it's a full master's program. In this program, the people on it are typically people who are already in management or leadership roles, and they're looking to build structured learning to support them in the work that they're in, and also people maybe who are on pathways in their organisation towards leadership and management roles. The program allows the learners to establish an operational framework for finance operations, HR and IT functions in the GBS context, again leveraging much of the content, the global business service specific content from Hackett Institute on online platforms. It allows us to deliver knowledge and skill sets to enable the learner to operate at a strategic level in the GBS industry. So there's a pattern over the program where it moves from an operational excellence to a strategic excellence. It provides a basis for leadership roles in the global business services industry, and we have specific modules in management and in leadership that really makes the learner think about how they are developing professionally as a manager and as a leader in their organisation, and helping them put in place personal action plans that is going to support that. The nature of the learning, the assessments, the workshops that we have on it, allow the learner to hone and develop analytical, conceptual and planning skills on real life contexts. So as much as possible, we try to have the learners apply the learning into work-based issues. And finally, the program enables the program participant to become a subject matter expert in their organisation. For that, we have a major consulting project as the final stage of the master's program, and this allows the learner to explore in a more deeply into a particular area that's of interest to them, possibly in terms of where they want to bring their career, but also is of interest to their organisation. The brochures and other material available from Technology Ireland will provide you with much more detail on the specific content of the modules. Program structure is basically set out as 12 modules that the learner would take over the 2-year program. 8 of these modules are online. By that, I mean the content is driven again by the partnership we have for content provision with the Hackett Institute. It also moves from the operational to strategic excellence as we move across the stages of the 2 years of the program. And we also have a number of module areas that are built on top of the online programs that we have in strategic operations, creativity and innovation, change and team management, and contemporary leadership. And these modules are all adding towards some of the agility and capacity to change that Pádraig mentioned in his presentation. The modules at the moment, in terms of their delivery, in the context of the COVID-19, just preempting any questions on that, our intention is to start off with an online delivery for all modules. There will be the delivery for the bottom 4 modules there, the ones that are our what would normally have taken place in workshops in TU Dublin. They will have a very different online delivery, in that we'll be making we're planning to try to ensure that we get that peer learning benefit that we've had terrific feedback so far from learners on the program, and we're building that into the design of each of those modules as well. On the other programs there, on the other modules, the peer learning is very important as well, and we have done on the online framework, on the online platform, we've built a number of activities that support that as well, and many of which we're now finding to be of terrific benefit to us as we're responding to COVID-19 restrictions on other programs in the university. I mentioned the major consulting project, and this we have a very strong emphasis on planning to deliver impact. The emphasis is on developing projects that are targeted for business improvement. But for the learner, and that's very important for the organisations, and a number of organisations involved are engaging with their participants on the programme to shape and identify projects that can deliver impact. But it's also, we want the learners to be able to use the consulting project for their own career planning. So to develop that targeted expertise that they are looking to develop to allow them move within their organisation, or maybe increase their visibility in their organisation in the areas that they're looking to have impact. I was going to invite actually Sabine to come in now to talk about from the Hackett perspective where those capabilities are built.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Paul. I'm just going to give a little bit of an insight where we get all that data from and all the information that we've put into this GBS training. For those of you who don't know Hackett, we've been around since the early 90s, and we've been conducting benchmarks ever since then. And what they've really allowed us to do is to have a look, well, what are the empirically proven best practices that organizations are using? So we were looking at the best in class. Which ones are they? Because that's the people we really want to learn from. We don't want to know what everybody else is doing, but what the best in class are doing. On top of that, we've conducted many consulting projects in GBS as well as in other places. And we did consulting projects, in terms of assessing what's the right place for us to start GBS. We go through the design phases, implementation, and also optimization phases with them. And kind of all that experience that we've gained over so many years, we've put into the content for this GBS training. And we're really looking at 3 different frameworks, and we've based the content around those. On the left-hand side, you've got our service delivery model. Most organizations have one of those. Ours looks like this, and it covers 7 different areas. We're looking at information, KPIs and metrics. We're looking at service placement. We're looking at process sourcing, process design, technology, skills and talent, and also governance and organization. We then also cover service management, so all about service delivery. And we also cover transformation management. Here we look into when we want to bring a new service into our shared service or GBS center, what are some of the considerations we need to go through? How can we make sure, once we've decided what we're going to do, that this is going to be a very smooth transition? We're discussing things like lift and shift versus transform and shift, and all these nice things that really people need to know when increasing the workload that will come into the shared service organizations, which we know is going to happen. The students on the master program will go through all of these topics twice, because the first time they do it, we're looking at all of these topics and looking at operational excellence. What we find is that when some managers want to then become more senior managers and they need to really step into a more strategic role, they sometimes struggle with that. And that's why we then cover the same topics again, but with a strategic mindset. So we're really looking at operational excellence first, then strategic excellence, and then, as Paul said, you then go into your consulting project, and that's when you're looking at transformational excellence. Back to you, Paul.
We have the benefit then of this, what is best-in-class content from Hackett that has that structured movement from operational to strategic excellence. And on top of that, then we're building in on our MBA-type delivery in the areas that are focused on developing you as a strategic thinker as well. Developing you as the leader, developing you as the person who's going to be able to identify and explore opportunities and leverage opportunities for your organisation and have the mindsets for that. So having that agility that Paul referred to earlier. Within the online delivery, Hackett have developed a very detailed virtual platform for their content, and all of that then fits within an overall TU Dublin learning platform. We use Brightspace, And this allows for you as the learner on the program to be able to manage and put your entire interaction with the program through this virtual learning platform. So it will allow you access through to the Hackett content. It will allow you access to communications in relation to the program, to assessment structures, to discussion forums, which are an important part of what we do, and for webinars. So it allows you to have kind of a fairly well-structured engagement with us. My last slide was really just reinforcing that the programs are internationally recognised. They're accredited through the National Framework of Qualifications in Ireland, which is a national framework that is internationally recognised. The CPD Diploma Global Business Services, as we said, is a level 8 program, which is a degree level program. It's not a degree; it's a 20 credit, and their learning credits program that is at a degree level. The Masters is at a level 9, which is a master's level, and again, it's internationally recognised accreditation through the National Framework of Qualifications. For entry to the Masters in Global Business Services, the normal entry pathway is having a level 8 degree already, but I would say that, and what we've learned about the sector and what we know about the sector is that we have a lot of people working in the organisations that have extensive experience, that have a lot of qualifications from accountancy and other areas as well. And we can, through what we would call a non-standard entry route, we can look at that to see and measure if there's an equivalency for a degree, a level 8 qualification, that we can provide access to folks who haven't formally achieved a degree, but we can assess have achieved the level of learning through their experience and through other training and education that they've done. And we have several people on the programme this year who've been terrific in terms of their ability to contribute to the peer learning and participating in the programme and participating successfully. So that's an important pathway for some people. What I was going to summarise on, and I was going to bring Paul back in on this, was that I've mentioned the benefits for the learners, but there's also a number of benefits for companies involved in the programme as well. We believe it is a pathway for companies to build core knowledge and skills based on best practice, based on the Hackett learning expertise, and based on our in TU Dublin, our experience working to develop managers and leaders in organisations. It can be very important as well in terms of improving the environment and attracting and retaining the best talent. And important for, in some areas, and it was a surprise to us at the time, but this was the first Masters in Global Business Services internationally. And it was nice to be involved in the world first. And it does mean for somebody, and we have found this in other program areas that we have developed, it can be important to have somebody commit to an industry when they become qualified in it. And it provides that professional qualification pathway that's dedicated to a particular sector. And we believe that's going to be very important in retaining staff working in the global business services organisations and sector overall. The learning is targeted at improving productivity and service quality. And we're also looking to build that high value skills and create an internal talent pipeline. And some organisations have really been very effective in building this into their human resource development activities. From the learning, we're talking about enhancing the customer and employee satisfaction. We're talking about helping people to develop the tools to improve the customer satisfaction, but also helping them to develop as better managers, more reflective managers and leaders in their organisation as well. And the final benefit is really through the projects, and at a module level, we have a lot of projects that we were really excited to see delivering impact into companies, because people were taking particular issues, real context, real life issues in their organizations, and building that into their projects and being able to use structured approaches taken from their learning to address specific issues in their companies. And we're now, and I was in a workshop 2 weeks ago with our masters group who are looking at their projects. And again, this is the major project for their masters. And in that, we were able to see how people are shaping and developing projects that are addressing issues that have been in the organization, but will deliver real measurable impact for the organization, and also develop enhanced expertise of those individuals as they go through and complete those projects. So if I could pass to Pádraig for a moment, because Pádraig has been at the end of this.
Yeah, no, Paul, thanks for that. And I would underscore everything you've said from an employer perspective. It's a fabulous program. It's a major part of Pfizer's learning and development program going forward. So far, we've put almost 70 people through the program, particularly the earlier stages of it. But next year, we'll have 5, hopefully, will complete the master's program. And for us, they'll be the first ever anywhere in the world to have achieved a master's in GBS. And from a site perspective, from a colleague perspective, it's a superb program. I couldn't speak highly enough about it. It has given our colleagues insight into different skill sets. It definitely has an impact on our ability to retain and attract talent. But it also, from an industry perspective, it is giving us an identity that hasn't been there in the past. Ireland is very much a location of choice for the higher skilled areas. But in saying that, it's an incredibly competitive field that we're in. So it's through the likes of the program, the master's program in particular, that, it identifies, I feel, to our headquarters that we are different from the other locations in that there is a true industry here, and an industry that's very progressive and that is looking at all the developing opportunities and allowing us to leverage that. So from a Pfizer perspective, I couldn't speak highly enough about the value and the importance of the program.
And important at this stage, we've had it through Technology Ireland Skillnet. We have the benefit of an industry advisory group, but we've also had a terrific relationship with Pfizer that has allowed us to make enhancements to both the content and the delivery of the program, and we acknowledge that, and that's part of how we work with our partners as well.
Thanks for that, Paul. I'm conscious, gentlemen, that we're pushing on for time now, so maybe we might bring Sabine back in for a minute, and we could deal with any questions that have been posed. Pádraig, do you mind if I just ask you one question? And this is, given the COVID crisis, is centralisation a benefit or a challenge at the moment, do you feel?
Great question. I think there probably would have been some concerns. Is it a risk? Because again, you're putting so much of your activity into one centre, or one series of centres. I guess from our perspective, it has been a huge benefit because I think we have the scale. We've had the scale that we've been able to react very positively to the crisis. And the standards, the controls, the infrastructure that was in place, and particularly our business continuity plan, which was incredibly strong across all the sites, immediately kicked in. And we've been off-site now, everyone off-site for about 10 weeks, I think, at this stage. And operationally, everything has been delivered on time, nothing has been missed. We've come up with very innovative ways around some practical problems. But we are now a truly virtual organisation, continuing to deliver operationally as if nothing had happened. I think there's been some challenges for many individuals in the whole work from home environment. It's quite intense, particularly when there has been no let up on the, everything socially, everything is all around the lockdown. But from an operational, from a professional perspective, shared services, or GBS, has really come into its own because of the sophistication of our background, and I say particularly our planning for business challenges, our business continuity plans have been very, very strong. So it really has enhanced our reputation within the organisation.
Excellent. Thank you, Pádraig. Sabine, a question for you that has come in, and it's possibly in a similar vein. It says, with the current crisis and looming recession, should we invest in training?
Well, we've seen that getting people ready for the future is one of the critical development areas, and it hasn't changed. In fact, I've spoken to a lot of GBS organizations who said that the current crisis really accelerated their digital transformation. And I've seen it for myself. Before the crisis, we never used Teams or Zoom, and now we constantly use it. And it just happened really fast because people had to. But with the acceleration of the digitalization, it also means we now need to look at what are we going to do with our people? How can we get them ready and prepared to take on some of those new jobs? And that, of course, hasn't changed, crisis or no crisis. In fact, I think it's accelerated it.
Excellent. Thank you, Sabine. I have another question here, and Paul, you might like to answer this. It's just, when does the master's class start and when do the classes finish during each of the 2 years?
We have this year, September 22nd will be the kick-off for our induction with the online classes, and that starting fairly much immediately after that. And that will bring us up to around a May completion of the module component of it. Now, in the second year of the programme, though, you won't have the benefit of a summer vacation so much, because you'll also have your consulting project to conclude during that period as well. So the second year of the programme, if you like, because learners or participants will be working on the project, will conclude in September.
One other question there, Pádraig, that has come in for you is, what does the future hold for Dublin and Ireland as a GBS location of choice?
It's a great question. It's one, I suppose, that we have thought quite a lot about, because again, given the journey we've been on, it's been a challenging journey, and we've had to adapt, and we have to make sure that Pfizer and by extension Dublin continues to adapt. I think the future is very, very bright, but the future is very much in knowledge-based activities. And Sabine talked a lot about digital and the opportunities. We really need to continue to progress. I do think we need to bring a lot of the pieces of the jigsaw together. So the likes of what's happening in Grand Canal, the Innovation District, and the new Innovation Campus, and the work that Paul and the team are doing on the Master's programme, and bringing some of the technology groups that are out there together with the GBS industry, and all coming together to give an offering, I think that will be terribly important. An example we've had of it recently is in the biopharma space. IDA and government are putting together a gene therapy proposal, and we've been encouraging from a GBS perspective that consider GBS as part of that. So rather than it being as it would have been in the past, a single offering that Ireland is a preferred location for gene therapy, it's broader, because it's not just manufacturing, it's not just the science. There's also a GBS, a very strong GBS infrastructure there in the background, and there's technology, but I think we need to bring all of these elements together so that it isn't, as it sometimes feels today, that you have different industries in isolation, that there's a broader picture, there's a broader offering to be made. And in that way, Ireland and GBS continues to thrive within that.
Okay, well, listen, I'm afraid we're out of time. Thank you very much for everybody to attending and for our speakers. And as I say, our email address is gbs@ictskillnet.ie. Apologies for any of the questions we didn't get to answer this morning, but we will deal with them personally afterwards. Thanks again for everybody for attending, and good luck.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this webinar, please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to be kept up to date with all our news, events and programmes. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this one.